Hi, welcome back to Danny Harris Arts and part 6 of this twin bass wood carving project. If you've been following along, you know that I've been carving a largemouth bass and a spotted bass at the same time. Well, this segment I'm going to show you how I paint the largemouth and get it mounted to its habitat base. So if you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you consider subscribing and give me a thumbs up if you like these videos so I can get the camera turned around here and get started. Okay, so I've got all the body covered, sealed, and then gessoed. I'm not showing that on camera just because it's just painting it white basically. But so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start laying in the base color white. And I'm just using this Hobby Lobby Deco Art. This is a metallic pearl and it's a pearl white. So this is what I'm going to use to just start painting the belly here up the sides. I'm just going to go up the sides here. I know if you've kept up with me and watched some of my earlier videos, I used Airbrush quite a bit. But the more I do this, the more I learn. And what I've learned is by doing it all by airbrush is that it looks airbrush when you're done, and I don't like that, and it doesn't score well with the judges in competition. By doing it by hand, it's more, gives it a more organic look, I should say. Let me get that out of the way. So it's more natural when it's all done by hand, and I'll show you as we get closer to doing it how I do a lot of dry brushing on it. So you can't tell it right there, but that's all up here behind the scale here. It's all a pearlized finish from about the lateral line down. I'll put a little bit on here too, because just some of that pearl essence will show through some of the layers, hopefully. Good. All right, so now I'm going to mix up my base colors, my local base colors, and I've got these eyes covered with this liquid latex, and this is a liquid masking fluid. It's basically just liquid latex, and I paint over the eyes. So when I get ready, I can peel it off instead of taping them off. And I couldn't use that on glass eyes because it would just bead up. It wouldn't stick to it. But these are resin. So these are eyes that I make. So these are resin, and it sticks to it. All right. Let me get my other colors out here. Alright, so I got this base color laid out here. It's a kind of a yellowish green, I guess you could call it. But I'm just using the same colors. And this is olive green. And then I've got some cad yellow. And a little bit of orange here. And some white. Actually a little bit of that pearl white that I used in there. Kind of kills the pearl color, but I'll put the iridescence back on there once it's finished for the last step. Say this is just the base color. there's the base color. Now I'll start layering more transparent color over the top of that. Okay, so now I've made just a pale version of this green here. This more towards it's leaning more towards yellow, and I just added some white and some cadmium yellow to that just to lighten it up. And I'm gonna also put some of this glazing medium in it, and it's just a clear acrylic medium that gives it some transparency. So I'm gonna dry brush this on there. So all I'm doing is dipping it in and knocking a lot of it off, and then I'm gonna start just dry brushing this on here. I'm not going to go all the way to the top. I'm just going to go about up to the lateral line. Now I don't want it on real even. I want it to be spotchy. I use this this glazing medium. It's kind of a milky color, but it dries clear, and it's this paint is not transparent, so this gives it a little bit of, using that glazing medium gives it a little bit of transparency, so some of the bottom layers will show through. And it's thin enough that it's letting some of the base color show through on it, and it's toning it down at the same time. I started using this flow medium for airbrush work, and I make my own reducer that I also use when I use the airbrush, but I just don't use airbrush that much anymore. I'm carrying this on up to the top up here, just getting some of that shimmer on there. I'm not worried about up here because I'm going to be putting scale tipping everything. Alright, I've got this darker green mixed up here. It may not be dark enough, but I'm going to start out with it real light, doing some dry brushing on it. I've got my brush on it, and I'm using my shirt. Y'all seen my paint shirt before. So I'm just going to start just kind of dry brushing this on. I need a stiffer brush than that though. Where's my stiffer brush? There we go. Dry brushing works better with a stiffer brush. To me it does. I'm going to go over this with several layers of color to build it up to where I want it. You see how it's starting to get that little spotchy look? You can't get that with an airbrush. If you tried to do that with an airbrush, it would be smooth and even. This way it's more natural looking. Say I'm going to be building up several layers of color on this. Alright, so I'm going to add just a little bit of this olive green in here with it. I'm going to start adding another layer of darker color in here, but I want it to be a little bit more to the green tint. I've still got some of that left, but I'm going to add the olive green, and then I'm going to do a little touch of black in here with it. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing to this side. I'm going to do it off camera so you're not sitting here bored to death. Okay, I've made up this a little bit darker olive green here. Added a little black to it. Some more flow medium. Some more glazing medium. So that's more transparent. And I'm going to start leaning more green here. And I'm going to kind of establish a little bit of the lateral line. Not much. I just want some background noise on it, so to speak. Alright, I'm going to kind of do the hint of the lateral line here. Carry that up here to the eye. Here we don't see. I see a lot of people do these sidebars wrong. This one comes almost straight off the eye. Back. And it goes through this first gill plate. And the second one only goes to the front of this gill plate. It don't go all the way through. And I see a lot of guys bring it all the way through, and it doesn't do that. It just comes down to right there. Alright, so I'm going to do this other side. So I've got several layers of color on here, and I went ahead and went through and done some off camera just to kind of build it up a little bit. But I want to start kind of toning it down some. I've got all the greens in I want, but I want to start toning it down to make it more neutral green. So it's a little bright right now. So I'm going to start by using the pearl white again, and I've got some made up here. It's the pearl white and the glazing medium, and I put some flow medium in it to thin it down because I'm going to dry brush this on. And what it's going to do is going to start kind of killing the intensity of the colors. And I'm going to be dry brushing this on just like I did the other. And you may not be able to see what it's doing right at first. And I'm still going to put more color over this, more darks. You might be able to see that a little bit. It's starting to just have a little bit of a toning the colors down a little bit. Let me get up here, keep getting down out of the camera here. Let's see, I still got some layers to do up here. Alright, so I'm going to give that several layers, and then I'll come back and show you what it's looking like when I get it done. Alright, so I've got the pearlescent color on there to kind of blend everything together, but I'm going to put some more layers of darker greens up here. I'm not going to start the lateral line yet. I'm just going to kind of put the spots, the fade down, and then kind of establish little spotted areas on the back here too. And I'm using this darker, I've made a darker green here. Olive green, got a little black mixed in with it. This is going to look dark up here when I get done, but once I put the scale tipping on there, it'll kind of brighten it back up in this area. Alright, I'm going to do the other side, and I'll be back here shortly. Alright, I'm going to go just a little bit darker now, just right here along the top, and then I'll add detail. I'll start scale tipping some of the darker darks in, and then some of the lines on the bottom here. So I'm going to run up here and I'm going to do some of these darker ones. Alright, I've done some more glazing with the white and pearl to kind of tone everything down a little bit. The colors are starting to pop a little bit more, or tone down to the natural colors. Probably need a little bit more on this side. Alright, I decided to do some scale tipping here instead to establish this lateral line. Just using this little tiny micro applicator. This black that I'm using is not really black. It is, but it's I'm mixed some of the olive green with a little bit of black, so it's not quite jet black. It's starting to shape up. Typically the lines are kind of broken into spots, the first 3 or 4, and then it starts becoming more solid as it goes back. So I'm going to kind of establish a little line of them here. And the reason I don't use Airbrush anymore, I've probably talked about this already, but you just can't get an organic feel, lifelike. When you look at it, when you look at the scales up close on a fish, and by doing it by hand with something like this, and then using my finger to kind of blend it, and it it's more organic, more lifelike. When I first started out, I did I used a charcoal pencil, which you can do, but I've kind of grown and changed techniques over the last 4 or 5 years. I started out not knowing what to do. I still don't know a lot. So a lot of times I'm kind of winging it how I think it should be, or how I think it would be done. And I've learned a lot by watching other people and talking to the other people, and learn techniques. And that's part of what this channel's about. I've said it before. I mean, I'm still a newbie in the grand scheme of things. I'm a newbie. There are guys that have been carving for 30, 40, 50 years. I wish I had started 30 or 40 years ago. But taxidermists use airbrush a lot, and some of you guys may use airbrush, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it just got to where, to me, it looked too airbrushed. When you use an airbrush, it looks airbrushed. So I don't use the airbrush anymore. I may still use it occasionally just for certain effects. On a bigger project, maybe. I want to carve a huge, at some point, I want to carve a huge channel cat, or not channel, flathead catfish. And I want to carve a 30 or 40 inch spotted gar, or an alligator gar. I haven't decided yet. I kind of like the spotted gars. They're pretty cool looking. And I catch a lot of them while bass fishing or crappie fishing. So I'm just going from through here and putting this on this lighter coat, and coming back and just wiping it off the highs. And I'll go over that in a minute with some, because the pectoral fins are kind of, they get a little burnt sienna tinge to them. So I've made this kind of a greenish yellow for the anal fin. And this pelvic fins have a little bit of a yellowish tint to them. I'm just putting that color down, and then I'm going to come back over it, dry brush it with white. And I'm using that same white down here I was using on the, kind of lightly going across. do the same thing back here on this anal fin. Do this gold tipping, I'm going to be using this metallic mica powder. This is extra brilliant rich gold, and it's pretty strong when I first put it on. And there's a couple ways you can do this. You can mix this with odorless mineral spirits and make a paste out of it and paint it on. It works well that way, and when it dries you have to spray it to set it. And it can be a mess because after it dries you can rub it and it'll rub off, so it can be a mess if you're not watching what you're doing. So I'm going to use this Glazing Medium again. This is some of my favorite stuff here lately, and I'm going to put a little bit here on my plate. Take this extra brilliant rich gold. It's a real fine powder. I mean real fine. I'm just going to mix this in there with this medium here. I might need to put some more. Yeah, I'm going to need some more. I mean, that looks almost like mercury, gold mercury. So that's what I'm going to gold tip with. I'm going to put a little bit of this flow medium in there to thin it down. I want it kind of soupy. And you say when this goes on there, it's going to be very bright and it's not going to look right at first, but it'll get thinned down quite a bit. So to tip with, where's my, there they are over here. I've got these are even about half the size, so I'm going to use these. Get up here, we can see what I'm doing. This one will go every scallop here in this dark area. So you can see this is going to take a while. If the shine is showing up on there or not. But I'll get all those done, and what I'll do after I get them all done, I'll come back in here and I'll put some glazes over it to dull it down a little bit, because it's going to be way too brilliant, but it'll still have it shine gold once I put the dry wash glazes over the top of it. So I'll show you that when I get back. Like you can see that shine from that gold pretty well there. But like I say, it's too bright, and after it dries I'll give it some washes, some light green washes. And then I'm also got some iridescent colors that I'll give it a wash with, just a tiny hint of iridescence to the scales. And then it'll be ready to hit it with a couple of coats of clear coat and be ready to mount to the habitat base. Alright, it's midnight, I'm going to bed. I'll pick back up on this tomorrow. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a thin wash over this to kill this gold, and then kind of re-establish some of the dark spots up here, and then just give it all a wash, and then I'll finish up with this turquoise iridescent shine that'll kind of give it just a little hint of iridescence. So the color I've got here is just the sap green and black with a little bit of burnt umber mixed in with it. And then just going to be dry brushing this on there. And I'm just going to go over this gold here to kind of kill it a little bit. I don't know if you can see that right off the bat. It just starts. And I'm just going over the top here. Okay, so it's dried a little bit now, and I'm just going through here and I'm putting on just another thin layer, thin wash on here. You may be able to see how it's kind of dulled down a little bit now. And I did this side already too. See how it's kind of dulled down. I need to do a little bit more on this one. Dried, I'm going to do a little bit more here. I think you can probably see that then. Now I'm going to take, I've got a little spot here too that's a little bit darker. I mixed a little more. And I'm going to dry brush in some little darker spots up here. Alright, so I'm going to put the little bit of a iridescent shimmer on there, and I'm using this turquoise, and this same company that makes this other stuff, Deco Art. It's a little more expensive. This one's $3. Most of this stuff is 99 cents, $1.20 a bottle, but this iridescent stuff, is a little more expensive. And I've got blues and golds and purples and color shifts and greens, but this iridescent turquoise gives it the best fish color to me. And I've just got a little tiny bit on the plate here, and it don't take much. I know you probably can't see that, but I'm just doing a light wash, really light on this. I don't want a whole bunch because it's strong. I'm just going on the top here. I'm not even going on, maybe a little bit down the side, not much. Alright, so that's going to be it for the paint on it. I did a couple little detail spots, like I put in just a little bit of flesh tone along the edge of the fins here, just to kind of give them a little bit of a transition to the body there. Also painted a little poot shoot there. So it's ready to be drilled. I've got to drill a hole in the side and mount this metal pin that'll mount it to the habitat base. I'm going to get cleaned up here a little bit and get that hole drilled and the pin in, and then I'll show you mounting it to the base. right, that's going to wrap it up for the painting process of this largemouth bass, of this twin bass wood carving project. Still got the spotted bass to do, so that'll be coming up in a future video. But if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comment section below. If you like this video, be sure and let me know. And if you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you consider subscribing and hit that thumbs up if you like these videos. So see you guys on the next project.